What is up, everybody? It is I, Ronin, and today I'm coming at you with a learning how to play for the new archetype Datascape. So, basically, long and short of it is, Datascape, they special summon themselves, they make level 6 to 9 to rank 6 to free Xyz monsters. I kind of wish they had a level 9 Xyz monster, but they don't, so it's fine. But yeah, let's just jump right in. So, first off, we're going to start with the monsters because they're the most important part of the deck, and they all have one common summoning effect. If one is in your hand, you can target a Datascape card you control that's on the field, special summon it, and then send a Datascape card from your deck to the graveyard that is a different type than the one you targeted, and then they each have their own unique effects. Lin Lin here, Foolish, is another Datascape card from your deck to the graveyard, so it's pretty cool. Tutu we'll actually go over later because she's like the single unique Datascape card. Lao Lao revives a Datascape monster from your graveyard and defense position. Rui Rui lets you search a Datascape card. Niang Niang is again another unique one, so we'll go over her separately. And Gigi gives you a search during the end phase. So as you might have guessed, based on the effects here, graveyard setup is extremely important in this deck. It would almost make you run that one 10-yi card that like Foolish's worms because everything is a worm or a psychic, but generally you don't need to. Now, because I said they're unique, we will go over Tutu and Yang Nang separately. So first, Tutu. So, if you control no monsters or you only control psychic or worm monsters, which is all the Datascape cards, you can normal summon it without tributing, and if it's in the graveyard, you can discard a psychic or worm monster to special summon it. It's treated as a tuner if you do this, but its banishment leaves the field, and you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except level or rank 3 or higher monsters, and it's a hard once per turn. And that is something I forgot. They also all have the restriction that after you use their effect, you are locked into level or rank 3 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn, which is fine because that is everything they are. Now for Yang Yang, if it's in the graveyard and a level 3 monster is normal or special to your field, you can special it. It's treated as a tuner, but it is banishment leaves the field. However, if it is banished, you can target one of your other banished cards and put it back into the deck. So, yeah, pretty good. A good way to recover all of your stuff. And that's basically all the monsters really need to do because the meat of the deck is the extra deck. So we will be going over all of those right now. So first off, we have their primary boss monster, Datascape Fox Zhan Zhan. It's a level 9 Psychic Synchro, generic materials, and it has the continuous effect that any card sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead. Some decks just outright lose to this effect, so it's pretty good. It also has two other effects of its own. One is that when your monster declares an attack, you can return a banished monster to the grave from either graveyard, so that's pretty cool. And during the main phase, it can res itself by banishing two other monsters with different original types and attributes from your graveyard, assuming it has been properly summoned. So, yeah, you summon this turn 1, it sets up the material to revive itself in the next turn, so it really is something your opponent has to deal with. Great card with a big body. Next up, we have Datascape Beast Juju. It is a Psychic Synchro as well. Again, generic materials, 2400 attack, 1700 defense. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if you have two or more monsters with the same original type and attribute but different names in your grave. And you can banish two monsters with the same original type and attribute from your grave to send something to the graveyard after targeting it. So it's decent removal, so not bad. Pretty easy to make as well, so pretty cool. Now they also have some Xyz monsters, the biggest one being Datascape Venus Fing Fing. Once per turn, you can detach two materials from it to target something your opponent controls in a card on the grave to banish them both. And if it's destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can special summon two Datascape monsters from your deck with the same type and attribute as each other. So yeah, not bad. You can make it with more than two materials, so that's pretty good. You rarely ever will. But it's a floater, it's removal, it's pretty cool. Next up we have the best Xyz monster, probably, Datascape Dragon Long Long. It requires 2 level 3 monsters with the same type and attribute. While it has materials, it can't be targeted. And when an opponent activates a monster effect with an attribute that is not on their field, like say a hand trap or Nibiru, while they control a face-up monster, you can, as a quick effect, detach 2 in order to negate that effect, so pretty good. And then for their final Xyz monster, we have Datascape Spells Jia. It just requires 2 or more level 3 monsters, so generic. And once per turn, you can detach a material from itself, target a face-up monster you control to make it so it can't be destroyed by battle till the end of your opponent's turn. And once per turn, after damage calc, if this card battled an opponent's monster and you have 2 or more monsters with the same original type and attribute in your grave, you can banish that opponent's monster. So it's just kind of slow alternate removal. So yeah, the extra deck monsters are all pretty good, honestly. All of them are at least a one-of that act as removal. Beyond that, though, our extra deck consists of free Nightmares for, our removal purposes, Boral Sword for OTKs, Levier to pull back our banished stuff, Nightmare Shark for that cheeky end of the game thing, and Coral Dragon as a generic level 6 that also acts as removal in a possible draw. So yeah, that's basically the extra deck. Now we can go into the spell and trap lineup. Well, obviously first Ash Blossom is here because Ash Blossom is really good. So, we are first going to talk about the Datascape spells, starting with the Datascape gates. So, there are 2 of them. One is a continuous spell, the other is a continuous trap. And the continuous trap, despite the spell being a searcher, is far more useful. So, they both have effects, one on the field, one in the graveyard. Zugu's effect on the field lets you target a face-up card on the field, then shuffle 2 of your banished Datascape cards with different names back into the deck, and then you can destroy that target. However, during your main phase, its graveyard effect is much more useful. You can banish it, then you target a Datascape monster you control to increase or reduce its level by free until the end of the turn. This does set you up for summoning Jian turn 1 or Long Long turn 1, so it is very good, and we mostly have it here purely for the graveyard effect. Next up, we have Datascape Gate Quinlong, which its on the field effect lets you banish a Datascape from the grave to negate something on the field if it's a monster. However, its other effect, which is much better, is banishing it, adding a Datascape monster from your deck to your hand, and then sending a card from your hand to the grave. This lets you set up a Zugu, lets you set up a monster for your Lao Lao, lets you put a Niang into the grave. It's really good. And now for our final Datascape card, we have Datascape Capital Zhulong, which lets you just place a Datascape Gate card directly from your field directly from your deck onto your field face up in your spell and trap card zone. So yeah, it's pretty good. And then there's some additional effects depending on how many you have. If you have 2 or more Datascape monsters you control get 200 attack for the rest of the turn, which is fine. 3 or more lets you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, which is also fine. And 4 or more lets you special summon up to 4 Datascape monsters with different names from your extra deck. It is a hard once per turn. So never expect to resolve that 4 or more effect. If you do, just wow, you put in the work. I don't know what else to say. We mostly have this here so we can put a Datascape Gate card onto the field so we can target things with our Datascape monsters. Now, in order to help boost consistency, we have Emergency Teleport to summon our level 3 Psychics from the deck. Foolish Burial Goods to further set up our Quinlongs and our Zugus in the grave. 1 Upstart Goblin because we are not OTKing with this deck. Free Infinite Permanence for extra hand traps. And free Call by the Grave because a lot of this deck relies on sending things to the graveyard and searching. So we need to protect those plays. And now all that leaves is the side deck, which is pretty standard. We got Nibiru in case our opponent's summoning a lot. Gameciel in case we want to drop a big turtle, which is actually a little relevant because a big problem for this deck is getting over bigger monsters, like with 3,000 or more attack. Free Lightning Storm in case we ever really need to go second. Free Dark Ruler no more because it outsboards. 2 Twin Twister for a little bit of extra spell trap removal, and 1 Red Reboot for the trap heavy matchup. But yeah, that's going to be the deck. So if you're new here, we just go over some replays or replay, and I show you sort of the deck's combos, what it's good at, what it's bad at, what I thought was a decent play on my end, what wasn't decent plays on my end, so on and so forth. But yeah, all that being said, I will see you guys in the replays. Alright, going to the first replay with Zokophilippi, I think. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm not even going to try. And this is a replay of us kind of just going off. Like, this is the deck going ideally, I would say, against our opponent who isn't really going to do much of anything, but they bricked a little bit, so that's not their fault. But yeah, let's go and get right into it. So going first, where you want to be with this deck. So we're going to start by summoning 2/2, which we are able to do because we don't have any monsters on our field, and then we're going to target our 2/2 with Lao Lao to summon it. Go ahead and send the Zugu to the grave, which we will go ahead and use to reduce our Lao Lao by 3. It is a tuner, so that gives us the levels required for Jiang Jiang, or Jian Jin. Then we're going to go ahead and activate our Foolish Burial Goods to send the Quinlong. Then we're going to use 2/2, discarding Gigi in order to summon it back. Then we're going to use Quinlong's effect, discarding our Ash. We are overextending here by a lot, but this is just sort of showing what the deck is fully capable of. Then we are able to use our Lin Lin, targeting our 2/2 once more, sending a Zukyu for next turn. And then we're going to be able to send as well a Quinlong off of Lin Lin's effect. And then we are going to go ahead into our rank 6 Fing Fing. With that, we're going to pass our turn. So we have a floater. If you can't out this, it's a removal. We have something that just sends everything, that banishes everything, which is pretty good. And as well as having the resources required to revive it. So, not bad. Not a bad turn. However, our opponent is going to try to do some stuff, and they're going to quit because they absolutely bricked. So, that was the deck kind of going off, doing everything it is capable of doing. -2, but you set up a pretty good floodgate and a floater with possible removals, so it isn't bad. This is not the normal occurrence, obviously. Usually it's like Jian, then whatever you have in your hand to disrupt. But yeah, we'll see that in the next replay, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, welcome to the second replay with Melody Tamazawa, playing a Madolche deck. And this is how games usually go. But let's go and get right into it. So we are going first, which is pretty nice, though. So we're going to go ahead and start by using Foolish Burial Goods to send the Quinlong, activating the Quinlong to go ahead and search ourselves a 2/2, sending the Zukyu to the grave, which is pretty good for us. Then we're able to summon our 2/2. Then we're going to target with Rui in order to summon our Rui, sending another Zukyu, which will go ahead and let us search our Datascape capital Zhulong, which we're now going to activate to put a Quinlong on the field, mostly for deck fitting, but still pretty good. Then we're going to make our Jian, and at that point we're just going to set our called and have the Ash in hand ready to go. So this is not bad. We've got something to stop a search. Everything is being banished. We didn't realize we're playing Madolche, but it is. We do have the called just in case, so not a bad, not awful for a board. But let's go and get right into it with our opponent, who is going to go ahead and start by activating the Chateau. Is able to special summon the Pudding Swar because it is, Pudding Swar. It's very good. We do go ahead and Ash it. I was worried about him getting to the Angeli if he did not already have it. I could deal with a rank 4 or the fresh to start, I think, and I just realized he only has 11 cards in his extra deck. But I thought it would be fine if he could not get to the Angeli, which unfortunately he does already have in hand, so we can just normal summon it. And he's going to go ahead and use Angeli to get the Pudding Cess onto the field, which he's going to go ahead and attack. Angeli and stuff is going to basically just send our Fox to the graveyard. Then we're going to take the Pudding Sword to the face. At this point, I thought we were pretty much fine, though, because we do have the necessary monsters to revive our GNGN. The strike is unfortunate, but that's how we have to deal. So we're going to draw a called, not really helpful. We attempt to revive our GNGN. It gets striked, and that about ends our turn. Unfortunately, so we just set that as a bluff. It's not really going to be super helpful against Vidolce now. So he is going to go ahead and make the rank 5 Chakala mode. We will be hitting this with the Call by the Grave because the ticket will just give him a straight up summon from deck, so that's not good for any of us. Well, it's good for him, but just not for us. So he's just going to hit us for 3,000. It sucks. Then we are going to go ahead and draw. We get the Foolish Burial Goods, which is okay. Then we're going to go ahead and banish that in order to negate the Chakalala mode, which is pretty fine. Then we're going to go ahead and set the Niang Niang in our grave. Then we're going to use that opportunity to go ahead, get enough monsters for our GNGN's revival, bring it back, and then because Niang Niang was revived, we are able to, or was banished, we're able to put our 2/2 back into the deck. And then we just have no way of getting over that thing. So that is unfortunate for us. So he's really just going to beat over it. Not much we can do about that. We get the Imperm, which is cool, I guess. At that point, though, he just floats the Messenger Lotto, attacks twice per game. Yeah, so... Okay. Now, actual, final thoughts on the deck. So it's very consistent. I will say that. More than likely, there are just so many ways to get to, a extra deck monster that unless you brick super duper hard, you're ending on an extra deck monster. Now, what that is, I suppose, depends on the situation you're in, but you're ending on an extra deck monster. The issue is, against decks that don't care about whatever floodgate they present, you're basically done. There's just nothing you can really do. It's a very reactive and situational type deal, which I guess is fine because it is technically a extra deck toolbox type thing, but the issue becomes you can't really beat over big monsters outside of using Capital's effect unless you want to crash. The Floodgate effect, of which GNGN is the best of them, doesn't help against decks that don't care about the graveyard. The other effects are all pretty meh, and you don't want to use a lot of them on first turn outside of, I guess, Fing Fing for deck thinning. And usually, if your opponent can out that one monster, there's nothing you can do unless it's GNGN, in which case, I guess you can revive it. But yeah, so basically, what I'm trying to say here is GNGN is a really good card, but if your opponent doesn't care for their graveyard, then it's not doing anything outside of sitting there and being a 28k body that can revive itself. So yeah, decent deck in the right situation. I'm sure there are ways it could be much, 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 much better. But I was not able to find those ways. The only thing I can really think of at this point is maybe Called by the Grave isn't necessary, but I'm not super sure. But, yeah. So that was the deck. Let me know your thoughts on it. Any ways I can improve it. Any decks you want me to play in the future. You know, stuff like that. I'm always curious to see what people want me to try out. But, yeah. All that being said, like if you liked, comment if you have something to say, and subscribe if you want some more. This has been Ronin, signing off.